I think one of the most important things I learned was how to operate in the zone of optimal anxiety. And it's another one of the principles in the book, but it's really this concept of how do you train yourself to be on the edge without going off the edge. And to think about this, think about yourself being on a tightrope, and one side is anxiety and the other side is indifference. How do you intentionally put yourself in the equilibrium between the two where you're keeping the tightrope taut and you're intentionally walking down it? That's really what being in this, people call it flow state, is really all about. But it is so profound if you can teach yourself how to get there on a regular basis. In fact, McKinsey um, studied tons of executives and found that those who were able to achieve this flow state or this state of optimal anxiety performed 400% higher than their peer group. And not only that, they were able to do the work in 2 hours that the majority of us do in 8. And so this, I learned this primarily while I was assigned to a SEAL unit. And for people in the special operator community, whether it's SAS for you in England, or us here as a Green Beret or a Ranger or a SEAL or combat technician, whatever it may be, you're going to be faced with all kinds of anxiety stricken moments. But if you're facing life or death, you need to be able to control that anxiety. So one of the most important things I learned was to see it like it's a flame, and a flame can do damage. I mean, anxiety could be thought of as negative energy, but you can also use it as an incredible power. And if you learn how to harness that power, which I did through breath work, through imagery, through targeted focus, etc., you can then learn how to cultivate it more and more in your life and in the periods of life that most matter. So I would say that was one of the biggest things that I learned that propelled the rest of my career forward.
I think that's a great lesson. Um, I think there are a lot of people talking about perhaps how to reduce anxiety or make it go away or notice it, but not many people talking about how to use it. Is there any examples that you would share in relation to how you take anxiety and make it almost like a tool that improves you?
So I think a great example is the one I decided to pick for the book, and that is, um, well, I can give two. So one person I profile in the book is this guy, Jesse Uiji, who himself is a former naval officer who, on one of his deployments, started to daydream about wanting to be a professional race car driver. And today he is a NASCAR driver. Um, and I was talking to him about this whole concept of optimal anxiety, and he gave me a great analogy. When he first started driving on the track, what he found himself doing was either being too cautious, and when he was too cautious, he would wreck because the drivers behind him would expect him to be more aggressive, and he would almost pull back and they'd end up wrecking him. Or when he tried to be way too using the anxiousness way too much, he also wrecked because he was finding that he was too much over the edge. And so for him, it was practicing how do you get in that zone where you're driving the car, but you have control of it to the point that while you're in it, you feel like time stands still. And I think for anyone who's ever played baseball or cricket or softball, any of these sports, it's that moment when the ball is coming at you and the pitcher may have thrown it 100 miles per hour, but to you, it's as almost it's coming at you in slow motion, and you are so much in that zone that you're able to hit it. And that's exactly what Jesse was able to achieve in the race car. I think another way to think about this is imagine that you want to play volleyball and you're on a court and maybe you're 25 years old and the people on the other side of the court are in their 70s. Obviously, for you, you're going to be beating them pretty bad, given the difference in age. And so you're not going to feel very compelled to be in the zone to do that activity. Well, the same thing happens to you if you get on that court and you're playing against the team that just won the gold medal in the Olympics and they're kicking your butt. You're going to be so discouraged that you're not going to perform at your best either. But now imagine that you're playing against someone who is maybe a little bit subpar you, or maybe just a little bit better than you. And you're now competing with them. You're in this zone, and time kind of stands still as you're playing against them because you are able to focus your attention. You're able to take that anxiety from one spectrum to a different spectrum, but in this one, you've moderated it, and now you are fully immersed in the game. I don't know if that helps you to understand, but those are some ways I would think about it.
My interpretation is that that concentration level that you need in order to improve your performance can only be gotten with a bit of anxiety. So rather than looking at it as a bad thing, you look at it as something that will help you achieve that concentration. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's think about it as like tuning a guitar string. You want it taut enough to hit the perfect note, but not so tight that it snaps under pressure. The same thing applies to peak performance, where the state of alertness meets peace of mind, and the fertile ground is that middle ground that springs forth, which is when you're performing at your best.